What's going on? Welcome back to Financial Journey. So today we're going to talk to you about Rivian. I want to go over some of the current data points, break it down on what really moved it today, and go over everything else you need to know. But first, make sure you guys hit that thumbs up, and with that, let's get right to it. So Rivian did go down 2.14% today, largely reacting to CPI that came out first thing, for the most part in line with expectations. But if you do look at a lot of the true data points, energy did come in flat, meaning the other basket items in fact went up higher. So not only is that not necessarily the best, but you also do have, because of it coming in flat on a kind of just a general matrix standpoint, you do have the likelihood of a 50 basis point cut somewhat being diminished. And this is why you did see a lot of growth stocks more specifically go down. So yesterday, I believe it was around 60%. Now it is a 37.5% likelihood of a 50 basis point cut for the September 18th meeting, and a 62.5% likelihood of a 25 basis point cut. And really does affect the whole EV sector because EVs are very sensitive to interest rates. So once again, I guess the likelihood of a 50 basis point cut coming off the table is really hurting the broader market. But fundamentally, in my opinion, I don't think it's that big of a deal, but what do I know? As of late, there hasn't been all that much in news ever since their earnings. So regrettably, I wasn't able to live stream their earnings, but generally it could have had some room for improvement. So you do see a lot of the key metrics right here. So they did minorly beat on their revenue, minorly beat on their earnings per share, the normalized. So it came in at negative $1.13. But I think in general, it was their future guidance. That's what a lot of people generally did not like. And then when it came down to their earnings as a byproduct of that, you do have all of these new ratings that did come out. So 16, 18, 16, kind of all over the place. So you do have a low, looks like a couple at $13, then a high, it looks like of 21. Actually, my apologies, looks like 30. Canaccord George, who does have a 38% success rating. On a side note, a lot of these ratings are absolutely horrific, as anyone covering the EV sector has been largely wrong quite a lot. So you see Daniel Ives, I think he's one of the better ones clearly, but 52% success rating. Morgan Stanley, 45%, 57%. So all over the place. As a consensus though, $17.19 is that price target, and that does represent a 30% upside. So let me know your thoughts on that in the comments below. Aside from that though, it is that time of season, so you do have a lot of other institutions disclosing their 13F, so disclosures to the SEC, and you do have right over here, I'll quickly go down here. On a side note, I am on IBKR, so if you're looking for a lot of free information, take advantage of that. Link in the description below and also the comments. So you do see a couple institutions that did buy, some sold. So BlackRock did return some shares, as you can kind of see, a very small amount, so 865, so nothing really crazy. You do see on Fintel, for instance, the consensus, so everything joined together. This is the individual entities right here, so a little bit more finer detailed, if that makes sense. But regardless, you did have a lot of other institutions kind of increasing their position, as a very apparent right here. And also on a side note, all of this is very delayed information as of Q2. So some people have been posting over this last little bit like it is new information that these institutions are doing them like right now. That's not necessarily the case. On a side note, latest Morningstar report does show the fair market value for Rivian being $17.21. So since their earnings did come out, this did go up slightly. So something to keep in mind. Aside from all of that though, going over some data points, shorts. So shorts did return about 164,000 shares, 16.9 or 16.49% of the free float is being shorted, works out to be 118.9 million shares overall are being shorted. Cost to borrow average is 0.9. And then the minimum is 0.07. So it is very cheap to borrow shares associated to Rivian, and you do see a lot of shares available, so roughly around 2.3 million. So if shorts really did want to double down, there's more than enough available shares to do so. So this is why I like to analyze this information, because by shorts returning today and Rivian being red, it doesn't really validate today's red day. So that's just how I see things, of course. You guys do whatever floats your boat. But yeah, I think in general, a lot of people are talking about Rivian Rivian squeezing prior to their earnings. That has since diminished, and yeah, so it's a unique circumstance. I will be putting out a video, the top 5 most heavily shorted EVs, probably first thing tomorrow, and based on how I see things, I think Rivian should be number 5 most likely, but stay tuned for that. So watch that first thing tomorrow morning on Thursday. So going over some data points, starting off with options, 2.24 million in calls, 3.2 million in puts. So in comparison to a normal day for Rivian, very low dollar value. And that's not necessarily just happening with Rivian today, that's actually kind of across the board. So clearly shows that big money isn't really getting into the market right now. So something to just keep in mind. But sentiment wise, 42% of all the options being done are optimistic and bullish. And of those call options, it looks like there's a consensus for it to be around that 1450 by the end of next week. And then looking at the puts, honestly, it's kind of all over the place. You see a lot of consensus around the $13 range. So in my opinion, there still is a lot more upside than down anticipated. This is the current open interest. So similar nature, just all over the place. You do have a lot at that 1250, 1,000 at that 13, 3,000 at that 350, and then 10,000 at that 14. So potentially if Rivian does have a nice run up near the tail end of the week, whether it be because of initial jobless claims or retail sales coming out tomorrow, you might see shorts a little bit more active around that $14 range. So again, something to just kind of watch for. And these are all the transactions that have been occurring on the secondary market above $100,000. A couple big ones, so 8.9 million, 1.9, but regrettably, a lot of the transactions being done today were sells. So institutions not really jumping up and down wanting to buy Rivian at these prices. That's again just my opinion, of course. Right now with it at 1325, it is trading between this S1 and the pivot. So 1318 is going to be that next strong support, and it did bounce off of that general area. So going forward into the next couple trading days, just watch for this S1 to hold. On the flip side, 1409 is going to be that next strong resistance / target for Rivian, and it didn't even come close to that today. So most likely going into the next couple of trading days, you are going to see more of a test of this S1, so more oriented towards downside. On the actual chart itself, it is lower percentile of the Bollinger Band, currently stuck between that 50 and 100-day moving average. So kind of just watch for it to trade within that range in the foreseeable future, but most likely given the trend, it is going to kind of probably touch that 100-day moving average before potentially retesting and breaking above that 50-day moving average. But anticipate a lot of volatility based on the fib levels, very wide gaps. So for those of you that don't know options, highly suggest in researching them, because any volatile stock is a option trader's dream to collect some premium. So once again, kind of just add that to your mix if you guys haven't already. On stochastic, you do see it considered very oversold. So if there's a good piece of news that does come out associated to Rivian or essentially the broader market, maybe putting that 50 basis point kind of cut on the table once again, this is where you could see a rush of value investors. And we've seen that time and time again happening with Rivian. On the actual momentum indicator, you do see number of retail investors have been getting out today, and just bigger picture, it looks like they've been continuously getting out ever since July the 12th. So all in all, a lot of the data points isn't necessarily the best, somewhat neutral, cautiously optimistic. So I think just Rivian's been at the mercy of the broader market. And right now the market simply just wants rate cuts and as well good data. So tomorrow's going to play a very big part, because the initial jobless claims has really caused the market some distress over this last 2 weeks. So we'll just have to wait and see if that does continue or not. Don't forget to hit that thumbs up and subscribe. Give yourself a shout out if you have been buying, if you've been selling. And if you did sell, are you planning on rebuying potentially lower, or are you out for good? What's your thoughts? Don't forget to hit that thumbs up. And one final thing, take advantage of this promo. Simply sign up for a new account, throw $100 at it, and they give you 5 free stocks. Each stock is valued up to $2,000. Link to that is in the description below and also the comments. On a side note, it's actually been extended up until the end of August. With all that said though, appreciate all of you watching.